Wow, Arsenal looked absolutely incredible. Arsenal, Bayer Leverkusen, who were unbeaten last season with a pretty strong side out. I thought this was going to be a close game. I thought this was going to be a difficult game for Arsenal, but they absolutely destroyed them. And do you know what? Arsenal looked sharp. They looked on it. The movement off the ball, the pass and move, the pattern to play, the high press to win back the ball. Arsenal looked ready. And my biggest question of Arsenal was maybe the left-hand side dynamic sometimes let them down at times last season. Martinelli didn't have the best season last year. They lost Xhaka. Zinchenko's really good on the ball and he was phenomenal today, but there's question marks about him off the ball. But Arsenal's left-hand side of Zinchenko, Havertz in the left centre mid role, and Trossard were the three best players on the pitch. Gabriel Jesus had a good game. Defence was rock solid as always. But that trio, particularly Kai Havertz, who played like a left centre mid role, but it was very different because he was coming in almost as a second striker behind Gabriel Jesus, and it worked really well. Kai Havertz was incredible. Kai Havertz is proving people wrong. He can't play as an 8. He can in the right system if you use him right. He can play as a centre forward. He can play as a second striker. He can play as an 8, but as an 8 that comes in behind the second striker when Arsenal have the fluidity on the ball. He's also got the confidence. He's naturally improving. But Kai Havertz was phenomenal. Kai Havertz ended last season, I think since beginning of February last year, only Cole Palmer got more goals and assists than Havertz. Havertz started slow, but when he got on it, he was on it. And Arteta saw something in Havertz. You've got to give him a lot of credit for it. And he absolutely unlocked it. Because Havertz isn't like someone like Xhaka that takes a lot of touches and makes lots of progressive passes forward. But he can work in midfield if you're allowing him to go high and you're linking him in high. That's when Havertz works in midfield. And I thought the way that he was coming in behind Jesus and almost operating as a second striker, he looked really good. He got 2 assists, not very difficult assists. The movement he makes, the run to receive the ball and the pass he plays, assists came from his IQ. Now, one thing everyone knows about Havertz, I think, is that one of the reasons Arsenal signed him is because of his movement off the ball, how intelligent he is, what a clever player he is, his understanding of the game, his understanding to get between the lines, he gets the ball, he passes, he moves, his ability to draw out defenders and create space. And we saw that for Arsenal last season. He's very good with his off the ball movement, creating space, finding space, popping up with these goals. But he was doing that really well, receiving the ball, passing, getting those assists. Not only his awareness to pick out the runners, but his execution to play that pass from Havertz was brilliant. Havertz was sensational today, and I don't say that word a lot. In terms of a complete performance, there's not much Havertz can do more, and I was questioning it when Arsenal signed him. As a Man United fan, I'm sitting here saying, you know what, Kai Havertz, he's someone that you put your stocks in for next season because he really grew the second half of last season. He really proved a lot of people wrong. And if Arsenal have all the players behind Havertz that's so naturally good in build-up, that Havertz can almost just sit just off the opposition's defensive line in that left centre mid role, it could work. Because, you had Zinchenko who's really comfortable in possession. Zinchenko out of possession when Arsenal don't dominate possession, there's question marks about it. But when he adds in possession, everybody knows it. Leandro Trossard, second best player on the pitch for me, absolutely phenomenal. Him, Havertz, Zinchenko, that triangle, the fluidity in Arsenal's movement was brilliant. And I think when Kai moves from midfield to false 9 and gets between that space, he becomes so unpredictable that Leverkusen couldn't figure out what he was trying to do. And it was almost like they had an extra man at times because they had all the people behind them that were really good in sort of build up, and it worked. And Havertz was phenomenal. And I'm not going to spend the whole video talking about Havertz, but I was really impressed by him. But these were obviously his game numbers: 71 minutes played, 26 touches. And 26 touches isn't a lot for someone in the midfield role, but it was how much he contributed to that. 2 key passes, 2 assists, 1 big chance created. Every time he got the ball, he played like a meaningful pass, and he made these runs and he created space. And I think he's someone that you look at, you think he's going to have a good season. Now, one guy I wasn't too familiar with, I thought had a good game, was the Miles Lewis-Skelly guy. He's a centre mid playing at left back. He was doing this Zinchenko, and I thought Zinchenko was one of the best players in the first half. And that Lewis-Skelly guy didn't look out of place. He used his body unbelievably well to get himself literally every time he was on the ball, he was unfazed. He used his body well. He turns away. He manipulates defenders. He looks technically good. He looks physically good. His understanding of the game looks good. And when you see that in a young player, you think, well, Arteta, if he wants to use him, he can mould him. Because if he's using his body well, if he's getting himself out of trouble through, how he uses his body, his technique, his awareness, and then when he's on the ball, he's got that drive, he's got that versatility to make things happen and be aware and be composed. He's got all those attributes that Arteta may look at and think, There's a good player there as well. His performance was front-footed, it was composed, it was strong. He did not look out of place. I was quite surprised that Arsenal brought in Saliba. I thought it might have been a bit early for the back line. But you know what? Did Leverkusen do anything in the first half? I think they had one shot on goal or one shot on target in the first half. I mean, this is a Leverkusen that were unbeaten last time. I thought it was going to be a game. I thought it was going to be an interesting game. But you had Saliba, you had Gabriel, you had Ben White. Rock solid as always at the back. I mean, and it was just normal. It was just like Arsenal's defensive abilities are just where they left off from last season. Just solid, unbelievable. Leverkusen that first half managed nothing going forward. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Whereas Arsenal going forward, they looked exciting. They were playing good football, good patterns of play. I was surprised by how good Arsenal looked. I hate to say that. Why am I saying that? But they look good. You had Jesus that looked dangerous. I thought Jesus and Trossard to link up. Jesus and Trossard read each other well. And there's always been question marks about their long-term future at Arsenal. But because Jesus can go out wide and because Trossard is very good in central areas, because in the box, he's probably Arsenal's most clinical player. He's such a good scorer. They can rotate with each other out wide. They can do those moves and rotate. And honestly, Trossard and Jesus in particular, they work well together. They've got that combination. It reminds me, very different, but Man United, when they played at their best, we had Rashford and Martial. We had this one season, we actually had 2 seasons where Martial and Rashford were both unbelievable. We had this one season where I think both Rashford and Martial got 18 goals in the Premier League each and like 10 plus assists. And I think Rashford had, 30 goal contributions and Martial had like 28 goal contributions that season. It was like one of Ollie's seasons where they linked up well because they understood each other. And Martial can play left wing and striker, Rashford can play left wing and striker. And although they're different profiles of players, it reminds me of their like connection of that. They work well. I think with Trossard, he was unbelievable today. He was driving at players, was making things happen, and he was showing that burst and pace. Trossard can operate as a touchline winger. Sometimes he was showing it today, that burst and pace, but he can get the ball from out wide, and as he comes in, he's really good in those tight spaces. Trossard's always been very good. Martinelli's someone that, is running in behind. He's very good at that. Trossard's very good in that tight space where he can dribble around players and get off a shot. He can manipulate defenders, create space for himself, get up that shot, because that Trossard, out of all of Arsenal's attackers, is the most clinical. He's a really, really good finisher. And I thought today he was really good. He was just exciting. He was making things happen. I think he was, looked fully ready for the season. I think Trossard was one that people have said should Arsenal sell him to make way if they could get a Nico Williams. But Trossard's one of those where he's almost the best bench player you can have. He can start for Arsenal because he's that good a quality, but you know what you get with him. He can come off the bench and he can get a goal. He's someone that is amazing depth, but can also start because he's good. And he was just driving at players. He was absolutely driving at players. He was doing well. He was getting a shot from goal. He was making things issues. Jesus was making issues. And Arsenal, all in all, looked really good. I think the transition runs in behind, the high press, worked really well. Ben White was sort of coming into midfield. Zinchenko's movement and drifting. Zinchenko was one of the best players in the first half. His movement is drifting, him getting on the ball, front-footedness as well, driving the ball forward, making the runs. It was like they were overloading it, that Bayer Leverkusen got cooked. Bayer Leverkusen's defence, Tapsoba, super hyped up, Hinkapie, super hyped up, got absolutely cooked. A lot of these Bayer Leverkusen players that have been hyped. And when the press was on it, when the movement was on it from Arsenal, I know Arsenal played one more game than Leverkusen, but that's only one more game. Arsenal looked a step ahead. They looked on it. They looked sharp. They looked ready. Arsenal looked halfway through the season. Leverkusen didn't look 100% at it. Interesting, the other things I noticed was, again, Ramsdale and Reece Nelson got their minutes that could suggest on the way out. So did, I think, Eddie and Nketiah. Will probably potentially be on the way out as well. Be interesting to see what happens there. Zinchenko was very good. Obviously, Calafiore coming in is going to go in competition. But whenever he got the ball, he made a run. He made that pass. He was carrying it well. I think Zinchenko put out some good passes. And I think Arsenal were playing some really good stuff. And I think that Arsenal can win the league. It's just you don't know what City are going to do. They've managed to get like 85 million for Julian Alvarez. I don't know how they got that much. He's a good player, but I don't know how they got that much. They're probably going to invest it in something big like a Bruno Guimaraes or something crazy. So you've always got to watch out for City. But I think Arsenal, they came second 2 seasons ago. They pushed on by going second to the final day. They're getting better and better every season under Arteta. And the only way they can do better than last season is win the league because they took the league to the final day. They got Skelly, who's 17, Nwaneri, who's 17, Saka, 22, Calafiore, 22, Timber, Saliba, Martinelli are 23, Havertz is 25, Rice is 25, Odegaard's 25, Ben White's 26, Magalhaes is 26. You've got to remember, people used to talk about Arsenal having the youngest squad 3 years ago. Well, all these players are entering their prime. So not only are Arsenal getting better, but their players are getting better. And Arteta could be making something special, and it worries me. Let me know your thoughts down below, Arsenal fans. Thank you for watching my review. Bye.